What I found very interesting about Carlos was the fact that it gave us the opportunity to explore the mechanics of terrorism, revolutionary militancy, and the mechanics of politics from the inside out. Carlos represented, for many people, the passage from the revolutionary theory into the military action. In a time where a huge portion of unsatisfied youngsters wanted a change in the world. Che was definitely the biggest icon of the internationalist struggle. Transcendentalist, indivisible, thoughtful, serious, devoted, denied to all the pleasures of life, you know. I mean, if you were committed to the internationalist struggle and you were a committed revolutionary, you would never want to be caught eating the best caviar or drinking the best champagne or buying. He was definitely committed to the zeitgeist of his time. I mean, he definitely belongs to that. But then you realize how his own obsession for recognition, his obsession for fame and celebrity got in the way of his agenda, and then he ended up becoming his own agenda. Ministers, the oil ministers of the OPEC, were probably some of the most powerful men in the world. I mean, at that time, the OPEC provided probably over 80% of the energy in the world. So that would be the equivalent of someone right now hijacking a G8 summit. I mean, there was no Energy Act at the time. We're talking about 3 years after the embargo. You know, so the dimensions of this moment are I mean, they're hard to imagine. And I think that at the end, for him, in order to survive, he had to become his own ideology. He has to justify constantly what he was doing. By the time they're in Budapest, they're very powerful. And then you see the arms trade and you see how they coordinate operations from Europe. The main value of the character for his Middle Eastern allies was the fact that he could operate from Europe and be the European connection for whatever plans they could have or they wanted to carry out. So his value, his leverage as political or active factor depended on the things that he could facilitate from Europe. So when he lost his advantages and position and his political position in Europe, then is when things start to go. I read a huge deal of contemporary history in order to feel comfortable with the historical facts and events. Then I tried to watch and read as much documentation as possible available on Carlos, the myth, Carlos the character, the fabrication, all the books that people had written about the Jackal and the myth around Carlos. And then I tried to hold interviews with people who were close to Carlos, to the human being behind the myth. I met members of his family and also some of his former lovers and some friends, but not in order to be completely faithful to what he was, or in order to build a biographical portrait, because this movie is not a biography. So for me, it was more out of inspiration. The method that I used for this character were observation, self-experience, and imagination.
Okay.
Just reading the script and looking at the scenes, then the first thing, he was charismatic and he was a force of nature, and he was the guy who would arrive in a meeting or in a party and everybody would turn around and look at him. And that's how he was described by the people I met. That was the guy. I mean, the guy would go to revolutionary parties in Paris or in London. People would just turn around and non-stop looking at him. What was important to this character, pretty much my life as a person, because I grew up in a multinational environment always changing from one language to the other and meeting different cultures.
You want to describe us?
I speak Spanish, German, which is my second language, English, French, and Italian. And I learned phonetically Arabic for the movie.
Asem al-Jundi, a bullet in the back of his head. Understand?
We worked very hard on that because Carlos was known to be very fluent in Arabic. It's not that he spoke it a little bit. No, he was very fluent in Arabic. So for us, for me, for Olivier, and for my Arabic teacher, it was very important that when the movie came out, Arabic speakers would understand everything that I said in Arabic. And that beginning, I had to lose weight and become again some sort of like crispy, athletic, 21, 22-year-old, which I was not already. I was 31 when we started the movie. So I had to go back physically almost 10 years back in time. And then I lost probably 5 or 7 kilos. And then I gained them back. And then I had a 3-4 week break to gain the first amount of weight for the scenes in Yemen after the route to Lier. And then we started to shoot the third part of the movie. So I just kept eating to age through, you know, the weight, you know, and then I just became this almost 50-year-old guy. I think that the weight and the physical deterioration, somehow it is a metaphor of the, you know, ideological deterioration of the character. I mean, you see this young, crispy, strong, athletic guy at the beginning, full of hopes and dreams of revolution, and with all this energy and this clarity and this, you know, like bravado. And then you see how slow everything has to do with immediate things, with immediate satisfaction, with instant satisfaction. And I think that part there tells you a lot about this character. Olivier and I, people would imagine that we spent hours and hours and hours talking about the characters and talking about the political context and talking about biographical facts. Not at all. We talked about it, Olivier and I, once or twice, and then we just played. And that's hard to believe, but that's how it happened. And also, we didn't have time. I mean, we had to shoot a very long and big movie in a very short amount of time, and then we just were, you know, like going from one scene to the other and playing and just letting go. And it was, I've told this before, it was sort of like a happening, you know? We would arrive to the set and say, okay, this is where we're going to shoot. Olivier would say, this is pretty much what I think could happen here. Let's do it. Want to do it? Let's do it. Boom. It was great. His sense of rhythm is incredible. And that's something that I really learned from him. Sometimes as an actor, for example, you drink water and then, you know, there's the water, the temperature of the water, you feel the water, you look at the water, you taste the water, you go moment by moment. And then probably in a screen time, it's an eternity, you know? And Olivier understands that very well. And then he tells you, Edgar, let's flow from one action to the other. Really? Yeah. But is it gonna look like too rushed? No, trust me, it's not that. Go. Let's almost like music. And he's very keen with music also. So he's got this kind of like musical aspect to the way he determines the rhythm in the scenes, and that was very revelatory for me. At the end, we invested a whole year of our lives in this movie, and then Olivier definitely more than that, but 2 years. I mean, between, you know, writing the story, shooting the movie, and editing the movie. It was a hard shoot. We had over 100 days of shoot, long hours. In many cases, very difficult locations. But I think that the movie benefited from that, because the texture that you feel in every location, we were all affected and we were all transformed by the environment, and that helped a lot. Regardless of the huge amount of political events and politics within the movie, we never talked about politics. What we were trying to do was to navigate the lives of these characters through those facts. For us, the point of view was the point of view of the character and the way he would try to sneak out of all these complicated situations. What is so interesting about this character is that somehow conveys the message that the most monstrous acts and the most tender gestures can co-live in complete balance within the same person, within the same person's behavior. At the end of the day, this is a movie that talks about people, about human lives. It is not about what these people did, it's about how these people lived through the actions that they carried out. It's not a historical movie, it's not a political movie, it's a movie about people at the end.